Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Loretta McNary Show. And yes, I'm going to say it. I'm super excited about this topic. I mean, she can actually talk about a whole lot of things that I'm very, very interested in. And I know that you are too, because she's a magnificent author. She sings, she's a speaker. She has this book that is being re released. She has a new single that's being released later this month. She's done TV, film. She's even wrote a film. But we're going to talk about today one of my favorite things as a single Christian devoted mother. This book says it all. I hope it's a movie and in a part 1, 2, 3, and 15. And her new book is called What to Do Until Love Finds You. Everybody, she needs no introduction. Dr. Michelle McKinney Hammond, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing amazing because, it being Wednesday and a lot is going on, but I'm so thankful and grateful.
Yes, me too.
I would not miss this conversation, honey. So you've actually been helping us for a number of years to prepare ourselves for the love of our lives. But I wanted to know, what was your inspiration for going this route with your teaching and your writing? Because I have my own insight on it, but I want to hear yours.
Well, it was where I was living. It was the book that I wish someone had written for me. I went looking for that type of book and couldn't find it when I first came to the Lord. And I was really struggling with my single walk. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate and live holy and get the love that I wanted at the same time. And, I had to learn a whole new set of rules because I lived quite differently before I met Christ. And I went looking for books, never saw them anywhere, went through very difficult lessons. Had a mentor by the name of P.B. Bunny Wilson. I'm sure you know who that is. She wrote Knight in the Shining Armor and Liberated Through Submission. And, I finally got to that place called Happy with God. And I was so excited, and I was sharing the insights and things that I had learned about how to be happy with where I was until things changed. And she said, "You need to write a book about that." And I said, "Bunny, I can't write a book. I'm in advertising. 30 seconds is all I've got." She said, "Girl, as much as you like to talk, you can write a book. It's just one long conversation." And I never forgot that. And that has been how I have written all of my books, as conversations to my readers. And I felt that I owed it to them to be real, to be transparent and authentic about the things that I went through, the mistakes that I made, so they'd know they were not alone, but also so that they could know there is victory on the other side of all our tests and failures.
Ooh, that's a lot to digest, and I could just stay there with you. But I have son. Well, you don't know this, but I'm the mother of 5 amazing adult sons, right?
Wow.
And while I was raising them, and we were growing together, and I would hear, different people say, "Oh, I want to get married. I want a man to do this for me. I want him to have this. I want him to have this." But I'm thinking, as I matured and got a lot of wisdom, I'm like, well, what are you bringing to the table as a
Yeah.
woman or a man who's saying he want a wife to have? She got to have this job. She got to have this shape. She got to know how to
Mhm.
cook. She got to know how to clean. She got to know how to preach. She got to do everything. So, but these are everyday people wanting, to me, superheroes. So
Yes.
how do you? So I feel like your book help us to become a superhero. Only superheroes are going to attract superheroes. You
That's
said
right.
this on many of the interviews I saw. Broken people attract broken people. Help us
Yes.
get from there to where we need to be.
Well, that's why this book really is a Lamaze class of life for you. And it's not focusing just on getting a man, it's really about you becoming a whole person that attracts a whole person that sees your value and is also capable of giving you the love you need and deserve, the kind that God has willed for your life. And that comes from a place of when you're whole and you're walking in discernment, because desperation diminishes discernment. So it's very,
Ooh,
very important for you to be whole and happy so that you can make good choices about the people that you allow to have access to your heart.
you dropped some nuggets right there. You said, let me see if I get it right. Desperation
Diminishes discernment.
diminishes discernment.
Yes.
Woo. As my son, who's a spoken word artist, would say, that's a bar. That will teach and preach all on its own. Desperation. And you say similar things to that too. I've heard you say that. So how did you get from being broken or thinking that if you just found the right person, they would make you whole? How do we get from there to being whole?
Well, after actually adding to my brokenness with the relationships that I chose to get involved with, I decided this was a no-win proposition, and I needed to declare a man fast and figure out who I was and why I was attracting the type of people that I was attracting. So that put me in a whole different headspace. And I literally challenged God and said, listen, I don't want to get married until you can prove to me that I can be happy with just you. Because I cannot be a hypocrite about this and tell people that Jesus is all you need if I don't feel that way myself. So and Jesus does not replace a natural man. That is not what I'm saying. And I don't think that he wants to replace a natural man. But what he does want to do is fulfill us where we are until that person is made available to us. We should never be walking from a position of lack, single, married, widowed, divorced, whatever state we find ourselves in. We should be in a state of wholeness, celebrating the season and the purpose that we're involved in at that moment. So for me, it was really just um, ripping up the foundation of everything that I ever thought or believed or hoped or dreamed, and saying, God, you need to rewrite my story. You need to erase my expectations and put your plan. It talks about man in the word says, it says that man makes plans, but the Lord's will prevails. And I would never have dreamed that God had such a huge life waiting for me if I could just stop holding on to the one that I was insisting on.
Whew. I'm telling you, I just want to stay there, but I know I got to get, I need to keep moving because you have so much um, information that can really take a person out of their head and their heart to becoming the person that they want to attract. And you start falling in love with yourself first, because I don't care who you are, how much money you have, how many degrees behind your name. If you're not happy, another person cannot make you happy. I had to learn
That's
that.
very true. That's very, very true. Actually, I'm going to flip that and say that you need to fall in love with God first and
Mm-hmm.
then embrace and celebrate who He made you to be. Simply because we'll always let ourselves down. So the standard for love and celebration really has to begin with the one who never fails, the one who's always true, the one who's always faithful, the one who always shows up, the one that never disappoints. That's God Himself. And I'm telling you, when God decides to write His love story on your heart and show you what love really looks like from His place, it's
Mm.
awesome. Then you become a spoiled brat. I feel like now I'm spoiled. I'm a well kept woman. And I remember one day I was feeling so good about life. I was driving down the street. I think I was in Dallas. I was on my way to an interview. And I said, Lord, I can't believe that I'm actually happy. I thought I would never be happy until I was married. But I am so happy and so fulfilled, and I feel so free. So I need to ask you a question because you have just spoiled me rotten. Everything I ask for, you give it to me. You send people to help me. You just spoil me so much. I see your hand in my life every day, every 5 minutes. I said, so if I got married, would you still spoil me the same way? Because that could determine to me if I want to get married. I don't want to give it up
You
and
don't
then
want to
you
give that up.
good.
I know, right? I've been praying for this husband, working on
Right.
myself.
Like,
I
how
know
come you're
what
not
love
taking
should
care
look
of me
like.
the way he did? Right.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Am I gonna have to give up something to have him? That is so interesting that you said that, because one thing that I was struggling with is how generous God's love is. And
Mhm.
until you can fully understand his love, because we still think he's gonna let us down, or no matter what we do, it's hard for us to um, conceptualize that he really does mean what he says when it comes to that love thing for us,
Mhm.
that he won't stop loving us no matter our sin, our mistakes, or anything like that, because that's how we love people, right? We want to
Mhm.
withhold our love, we want to
Understand.
bargain with it, but God will never do that. So you got to
Right.
remove all of that human love idea so that you can really understand God's real love, and
Yeah.
then not only accept his real love but give that kind of love to others. So what do you think about that one? I finally realized it just a few years ago.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I mean, our concept of love and his concept of love are two different things. I mean, we see it in First Corinthians chapter 13. He gives a description of love, and it's really a description of his character and personality. And that's where he's trying to get us to. You know, as we're transformed into his image, we become patient, we become kind. We no longer keep records of wrongs. We're not boastful, we're not rude. We never fail, you know. So it really is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It doesn't happen quickly. It's an evolution. It really is a call to maturity and self-discipline on our part. And those are two words that we don't like because they're like kind of like broccoli. But you know,
Let's say overcooked broccoli, because I really do love broccoli.
I love crispy broccoli, but I don't like it when it's overcooked.
At all. So I get that. So tell me this. So we know First Corinthians 13 about love is patient, love is kind. But you know what I was doing? I was only applying it to other people, right? I would quickly tell them, but not including myself in that too, Loretta, when I'm trying to get a point across. I'm like, but it has to be reciprocated too. You can't just call the other person on it. But that's what we do when we're not ready for love and to be in a real serious relationship. And then what about when we just take everything on? We are always the problem. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes it is what's happening in our life through another person. How do we get past that?
Well, there's this little thing called false obligation that really gets us sidetracked and gets us distracted away from what's truly important. I was mulling on that scripture in Philippians chapter 1, start about verse 9 or 10. And Paul is praying for the church. And I love the New Living Translation and the Message, actually, because it talks about loving well, not just loving, but loving well. And then it says, you know, you need to find out what really matters. You need to understand what really matters. And I think that a lot of times in the midst of all the stuff that we're insisting on, we haven't really figured out or understood what really matters.
So what are some examples of things that really matter in a relationship? Because I know people that are married, I will never ever call names or recite conversations, but they still get stuck on, and I am not married and I don't think I'm ready yet. I want to be married one day, but I know God's still working on me. But they still get stuck on leaving the toilet seat up, the toilet paper how it comes off the roll, the not taking the trash out, the not putting the ironing board out. How do we get past that? Because to me, that seems like you still trying to mother your husband. That's mother and son and daughter kind of language. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. Can we just put the seat down? Is that too much? Does it take away? Because like I said, I haven't been married, so I don't know.
Yeah, I call those distractions. Is he faithful? Does he come home?
Exactly.
Is he working? You know? Does he love you? You know, and in most of those cases, they usually end up being more patient than we are. You know, women tend to be a bit more critical, I think, and men are a bit more phlegmatic. So, you know, it really comes down to, I always tell people to write a list of what they would like their relationship to look like versus what they'd like the person to look like. And then try to find the person that matches that list. And just understand that they are human and you have to allow them their humanity and their flaws. And guess what? You've got some too. They just might not be talking about them.
Yeah.
So grace needs to be applied across the board.
Yeah. Shouldn't we think about who we want to be in a relationship, that we say the relationship we want? So shouldn't we see ourselves or even question, who will I be to him, the man that I really want? That little list that I have, he's got to have all this stuff. But if he is outgoing and he's making money and he's professional and he has a career, are we the kind of woman that he can take out to some of those outings? Are we that woman that we want to just juxtapose ourselves into that kind of relationship? Shouldn't we? It makes so much sense to me now, but it didn't always make sense for me to become that woman too, for my husband. I want him to be proud of me like I am of him. So how do we help our friend girls to get there?
Well, you know, Proverbs 31 woman is a wonderful example. It's the mother telling Solomon, Bathsheba telling Solomon what type of woman he needs to look for. And it's quite a hefty list, you know, that covers a lifetime, not just a week or a month. But, you know, the work always begins with us. And if we, you know, there's a scripture that says Jesus walked in favor with God and then with man. So if
Mm.
we are the woman that pleases God, we'll automatically please that man.
Oh, wow.
So the goal really is to be pleasing to God, to bear the fruit of the Spirit, and that makes you a confident, strong woman who's loving, who has grace and gentility, who's able to release her man to become what God has created him to be without feeling threatened, intimidated, or comparing herself, neither touting her successes, but just being feminine and being a woman and enjoying being a woman in the relationship and allowing him to be a man. All of that falls under the auspices of expectations that God has for both of us in the covenant relationship.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to take just a little break, and then we're going to come talk more about her incredible book. I can't wait to start reading my copy, What to Do Until Love Finds You. And I have a ton of questions, as you all can tell, but send me your questions too. You can put them in the comments. We'll be right back in just a moment. Come on. So it's deciding it's not going to play, but we're going to pause. So I have to put a commercial in here for editing.
Well, okay. And how long is the interview?
We have about 10 more minutes. You good?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're back. We will edit that out. So I know you get this a lot too, Dr. Michelle McKinney Hammond. People want to find a Boaz, but we're not willing to be Ruth. And what characteristics does Ruth have that led her, that attracted her to Boaz? It wasn't just because she was beautiful or that she needed to, warm his feet or whatever. She actually had those Proverb 31 characteristics. And I think women especially, miss that when they're looking for a Boaz. Are you really willing to be a Ruth? That's what I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get to that question?
Well, Ruth wasn't looking for a man.
Woo!
That's the first thing about Ruth. If Ruth was looking for a man, she would have stayed in Moab like her sister-in-law, Orpah. And we never heard from Orpah again. So if that's the only goal you have, we'll never hear from you again. Ruth decided to go and serve somebody. And sometimes your geography has everything to do with your blessing too. What are you willing to let go of in order to receive from God? What are you willing to displace in order to receive from God? So, it's more than, it says something very key in the scripture. It says, Ruth happened upon a field. She happened. First of all, she took advice. She had a mentor she took advice from, but it was in the spirit of serving her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
That was the last thing on her mind. I don't think she had makeup on or even thought about, probably had her hair tied up, and he was like, who is that? And her reputation had already preceded her, because actually nobody should have paid attention to Ruth. Ruth was an enemy. The Moabites were enemies to the Israelites. They weren't supposed to be allowed within Israeli property. God even said, don't pray for them. That's how horrible they were. And so here it is that she goes to take care of her mother-in-law, because it's very key that he tells the workers in the field not to mess with her, because he knew that she was open season. They could have raped her and nobody would have cared because she was a Moabite. So she was diligently working. She was humble. She accepted his help graciously, and was very transparent about what she needed from him when the time came. And he considered it an honor that she considered him and not someone younger than himself. So he was an older man. But also God had prepared his heart for her, because his mother was a foreigner. His wife. Why do I keep saying his wife? His mother. His mother was, a woman of ill repute in Jericho. So he knew what it felt like to be foreign. He knew what it felt like to be ostracized because of where you came from. So his heart was already shaped for Ruth. you know. So preparation was taking place on both sides. She
Both
had told
sides.
Naomi, your God will be my God, your people will be my people. So literally, she was saying, I'm willing to abandon everything that I am to go and serve you.
Mm,
And, I find it interesting that she's now included in the lineage of Christ. She becomes the great great grandmother of David, king of Israel, you know. And how beautiful is it that both the one who gave birth to Jesus and the one who marries Boaz had that same servant heart. Be it
yeah.
unto me as the Lord speaks. So
Ooh,
that's where we all have to get to.
that's good. I promise you. You are teaching because I didn't know that about Boaz's mom. So that
Mhm.
does put a lot of add some more insight to how open he was. And
His mother
again,
was Rahab. Rahab. I was
Rahab.
having for you. Rahab. Yes.
Rahab was his mom,
Yes.
the prostitute, the one who.
Yes. She married Salmon and gave birth to Boaz.
Oh wow. Ooh, okay. Well, see, I love, and then I know you have your simplified Sunday school on YouTube too.
Yes,
So I
Sunday
watched it
school
too.
made simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a big question for me. How do we leave when we know we're not happy and the other person is not happy, probably not happy too, but we just continue and the next thing we know is 7 years, 8 years, and there's no marriage. It's okay if you don't want to get married for those people, but if you really do want a marriage out of that relationship, how do you leave that? Because it becomes an addiction to me, and I don't know how you would break away.
Well, I don't even know how you date somebody that long stay holy. I wouldn't do it.
Oh, so, okay, so we talk about staying holy. Well, we're not talking about staying holy when it comes to the the intimacy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah.
So my mother married my dad, Mr. McKinney, and they dated for a year in London. And she said, "Well, it's been good knowing you." He said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, I never date a man for over a year. He should know what he wants to do by then. So I
Wow.
think it's time to end this relationship." He said, we're getting married." Men don't do anything that they don't have to do. So if you've made it
Mm.
comfortable and you become a wife before you're a wife, you won't be a wife. And then they'll go off and marry somebody they met in 3 months, and you'll be upset.
Oh, I've heard that happen in real life. I know a couple of
That
instances.
happens a lot.
Yeah, that it happens. So uh, just to be clear on my thoughts, and I want to know yours. I am not looking for a man. I don't think women should look for a man.
No,
And because the Bible clearly says, "He who findeth a wife findeth
that's a
a
good
good
thing.
thing."
Hmm.
And then, secondly, now the new millennial ladies, they're actually doing the proposing and getting on one knee and asking their guy to marry them. And I'm not in anybody's business. You do what you want to do. But I wonder, how do guys feel? Have you polled them to see if they would be offended if a woman asked them to?
Most of them who are real men, boys don't mind, but men do,
Ooh,
because men want to be men. And they know instinctively in their spirit what they're supposed to do. So when you overstep that line, that boundary that God has made for your protection as a woman, it's very unsettling to a man. And it is to the woman too, because even if he says yes, you weren't chosen. And now you're going to
ooh.
push every button for the rest of the relationship to make sure that he really, really wants you because you chose him. He didn't choose you.
Wow, that was you stepping on some toes right there. So getting back to the book, I want to, of course, we're going to tell everybody where they can find it and everything. But I am gleaming from her book. She gives this advice and these nuggets, these tips, these truths. That is her mantle. She is going to help us be ready, worthy of our Boazes of or whoever you want to compare your mate to. And men, you have to listen to this too because you have work to do as well, especially in 2020. So, what are some of the takeaway when you were writing the book and you were putting all these nuggets in there, Dr. Michelle? What were you hoping we would take away from this art that you did on relationships?
I was hoping that women would understand their value and what that means and how they carry themselves before and during a relationship. And that they would have the confidence and the trust in God to allow themselves to be chosen and loved the way He wants them to be. Really, that's it. My hope was that they'd be able to rest as they wait,
Mm-hmm.
serve as they wait, because there's a way to wait and there's a way to wait, you know.
Ooh.
And waiters at a restaurant aren't just standing around doing nothing. They're serving, and they get a reward for that. So I want them to know that the hole in their heart is not a person-sized hole, it's a purpose-sized hole. So when they get busy about the business of doing and being what God has created them to be, all the other things will, all as they say, the lines will fall in pleasant places.
So, how do you go from like the woman you were when you were writing the book, or the women that are reading the book, to feeling like you just want to be married, you want this perfect relationship, but you're not doing any work on yourself? What kind of work should we be doing? Because I just this year took myself out to lunch for the first time and
Mm-hmm.
to a movie for the first time. It was a daytime matinee, but nonetheless, I did do it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so what are some tips that you can give us to start working on now, so that we don't have to be so like the world says, thirsty for a man to be there, to because he's not going to be able to do all that for you to make you happy. You got to be happy now. How do we get happy now?
Well, it does begin with you. You're right. Having a healthy appreciation of who God created you to be. Um, is your house a home? Are you
Mm,
pleased with your body? Are you pleased with your financial status? There's a lot of work that we can be doing. When the Shulamite woman was married, she had a vineyard to present to the king. Of course, he was a king, but she still had something. You
yeah.
see, she had something to offer, besides being pretty. So, I just think that the more you cultivate your wholeness and yourself, you become a better prize. If the man who finds a wife finds a good thing, he really should find a good thing. he should
Mm,
he shouldn't come into debt and an insecure mess. I mean, he should actually be celebrating. Wow, lucky me, blessed me. I got this woman. Who could have thunk it? You know, yeah.
wow.
So work
Okay,
on
so
being.
what's the first thing they should? Well, I'll say we. I've been working on myself. Like I said, I'm taking myself out. I'm enjoying my own company, and I'm being realistic about that Corinthians 13. That not only should I want him to understand what it means, but I should live it and breathe it too. Not keep
Mhm,
score. Be patient and be kind. Give grace where great, like we do in our girlfriend relationships, right? Our sister
mhm.
relationships, our mom and it's just so funny. We get stuck on those male female, those intimate relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance relationship, and we tend to hold them to a higher standard than we do most people. I found that to be true. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, that's true. I mean, we have to have realistic expectations because when they're not realistic, we set ourselves up for disappointment, big time. And there's a big difference between standards and expectations. You know,
Ooh,
Standards are the basics, the things that really matter. Expectations are the trivial. That's, I call it the whipped cream on top, the cherry on top. They're not do or die issues. They're just things we'd like to have. And we need to know the difference. It's like when you go shopping, my girlfriend, Holly, always says to me, is it a need or a greed? Is it a must or a lust? You know,
ooh,
and the same thing
that's
is true in relationship. Is it a need or a greed? Is it something that's a selfish desire, or is it something that is really a God ordained desire?
good. Well, I know we both have to go and let you go, but I have learned a lot. I've been encouraged to continue to do the work that I started, what God started, and to really fall in love with God, number one, fall in love with Loretta McNary,
Mhm.
and become that Proverbs 31 woman. And he is to find me. I've never
Yes,
looked, and I will never look for a man, and
there
I
you
will
go.
not be a man in our relationship or treat him like he's my son, because I have five and that's enough. So
Yes.
you have taught me well. You have reinstituted what I already learned in my season with God on becoming more who I am, the way God created me. Thank you for the work you do. Any closing marks you wanted to make?
Well, I'd love for people to, go to my website
Mhm.
at michellehammond.com to find out more information about things that they might want to be involved in. I have a Divas Go to Ghana retreat in February in Ghana, West Africa, so they can log on to find out more about that. And then I'm also doing a book club on what to do until love finds you. So if they go to my website, they can purchase the book, send me proof of purchase to enter the book club that will take place at the end of the month.
Awesome. Where can
Got
they get
new
the book from?
music. I've got new music. So make sure that you
I know we'll be fine. Where can they purchase the book? And that's the last question.
Amazon.com, ChristianBooks.com. You can get it online or at Christian bookstores.
All right. Thank you so much. You have been a delight to have as my guest today. I look forward to us doing it again.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So she's going to leave, and I hope you were taking notes. Go back and watch this video again, share it, and let me tell you, let's get ourselves together, whether you want to find true love or be in a marriage or not. I believe that you deserve to live at your highest level of expression, whatever that looks like for you. So until the next time, think positive, dream big dreams, help someone along the way. And guess what? I'll see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Your life looks today, have your troubles away. Maybe learn another way, hanging with Loretta. Now it's time for some fun, get some inspiration. Don't you stop until you want.